Today, I decided to play Duck Life 3 Evolution, and right off the bat, this game comes swinging because we're genetically modifying our duck to make it as utterly overpowered as possible. I'm going to be choosing the athletic duck. This really doesn't matter, I just felt like telling you. And the first thing we're going to be doing with this little athletic duckling is to train him till he can beat an interdimensional being. Not that he's gonna have to or anything, but we should definitely start training him. Duck Life 3 has a lot cooler training than any of the other Duck Lifes have so far, and it doesn't make sense to explain it to you, so I'm just gonna show you with our first training, which is... Okay, I may have overstated just how different it was, but it's just some quality of life changes, I'd say. In the past versions, you'd avoid these obstacles and eventually slow down till you just fell in the water. But in this game, they added a purple coin that gives you a speed boost. I know, totally revolutionary idea. Although this does actually change up the speedrun quite a bit. That's because in the earlier games, whenever we ran out of speed, I'd just dive bomb because it was more optimal to do so. But in this game, we have these purple coins that'll give us a speed boost, meaning we don't actually have to dive bomb when we lose speed because there's a way we can gain speed back. I don't know if that explanation made any sense, but all I know is the duck's gonna get a lot less concussions this time around. Not that he was getting a lot of concussions the first time around, don't sue me. That being said, it's time to max out this stat. But unlike other games, we can't just get it to level 150 right off the bat. We need to evolve for that. So the highest level we can get right now is level 50, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. With that being said, we make it to level 50 and we move on to our next segment of training. Running is another skill that got changed slightly since the previous games. It's not much, but they added this cool little tennis ball that bounces that you now have to go under, and you can jump on the balls now. I know this seems like nothing, but oh my gosh, this was the best thing that has ever happened to me in my entire life. This unironically might be one of the best quality of life changes that the Duck Life devs could have ever made. Gone are the days of just spamming the jump button and then dying to an impossible to jump over ball. It's taken the luck out of the game, which I love. It also can cause stuff like this to happen. I don't know what happened, and I'm not going to try and explain it, but I am all for making a speedrun more skill-based, which is what they did here, so I'm very thankful for that. All of these changes have made it so it's a lot less janky of a game to play, and I am actually kind of good at it now. Like how I thread the needle right here. Oh my god, that was close, but I'm him. I'm so good. But with that being said, we get to level 40 running. Yeah, we don't even need to be max running to beat these poor other ducks. We truly are a different breed. But I'm sure you're tired of hearing about running now, so let's get on to the next skill. Climbing is by far my least favorite skill to train, and unfortunately it's one of the ones that has not really changed since the previous two games. Everything that made it bad then is still making it bad right now. But I can't hand on it too bad because the XP amount that you gain is a lot quicker than the first two games, so at least you only have to bear how terrible it is for a shorter amount of time. With that being said, we deal with all the crap and we get to climbing level 50. And that moves us on to our next and last form of training, which also happens to be my favorite. Swimming is another skill that hasn't really been touched since the first two games, and I'm all for it because swimming is by far my favorite and definitely my best skill. I don't know what it is, but something about gliding through the water, jumping over islands, and going under ships, and the fact that there's only two inputs just makes this so much fun and I love it. I don't have too much to say about swimming other than I love it and it's amazing and you all should try it. But with that being said, nothing too out of the ordinary happens and I get to level 50 in swimming as well, and I'm making a pretty good pace. We're now going to go back to this main hub area so we can buy some pink seeds. Now I know what you're expecting. You're going to be like, oh, he's going to make another steroids joke. And you'd be right, because this is a conspiracy theory now. There is no way a duck can eat 18 pink seeds and all of a sudden have the stamina of a freaking zebra horse, man. It's not possible. Then again, I did genetically modify my duck, so maybe steroids are the least of my worries. But with that being said, it's time to crush some other ducks' hopes and dreams and make all of their training for nothing. We proceed to absolutely smoke the competition because we are so much better, bigger, faster, stronger than all of these other ducks. Although credit where credit's due, some of these ducks came to play, and I gotta give them props, they almost bested me in some of these races, but we're not gonna let that happen. And with these races out of the way, our duck is ready to make like a Pokemon and evolve. Just look at him now. Isn't he magnificent? After our duck goes through our metamorphosis, we go where no duck has ever gone before. London, England.
Welcome to Brixton, I'm in the party with Barbies and drillers.
Now that our location has changed, so have the way we train these skills. Some for the better, and climbing is definitely for the worse. I am not at all biased whatsoever. And the first skill we'll be starting with is... With our skill cap now being set at 100, we have a new goal to aim for, and realistically, some more concussions to give. The flying training, like pretty much all the other training, is slightly different than the first version, in which there's an arrow that now tells you where to go instead of a caution sign that tells you where to avoid. It's not the biggest change, but it can definitely mess you up if you're not expecting it, which I definitely wasn't the first time I played this game. But seeing as how I'm an expert speedrunner, it was no issue for me. Flying is definitely the easiest skill to level up, and it's by far the fastest, so it's not too much time before we're finally max level in flying. And we can move on to another great skill. Running is yet another skill that has slightly changed, but it's more or less the same at heart. The only thing that's really different is these elevation changes, so we have to hop over, like, up a curb at some points, but other than that, it's pretty much the same old running that we know and love. With that being said, there's really not much more to talk about with running, because I just breezed by it just like I did flying and got to level 100 with no problems. Those new quality of life changes really came in clutch. But sadly, we're about to move on to a skill that you all know and hate. Climbing is a skill that I really didn't think they could make any worse, but somehow they managed to. At its core, it plays the exact same as a normal climbing level, which is already bad enough, but there's even more sections that if you get enough of them, you just lose. It's completely luck-based and not at all based on skill, which can be pretty frustrating at times. Like these countless times where I got this one satellite section back to back, and there's just nothing you can do but cry. I don't know why the devs thought this was a good idea, but maybe they just like to see people suffer. I don't know. Thankfully though, our suffering gets cut a bit short because we only need to level up climbing to level 90 instead of 100, so that's exactly what we do. I'm so thankful that climbing couldn't get any worse. Anyway, with that totally not foreshadowing sentence out of the way, we get to move on to our next skill.
Hey, you're finally awake.
Swimming is another skill that has changed a little bit, but not too much that it's unrecognizable. In fact, it's almost the exact same other than these weird freaking red spikes that look like they'd really hurt our duck, so we're gonna try not hit those. And these weird trusses that are underwater that we have to dive in between. That doesn't seem safe, but I guess it makes sense that there's no safety regulations in illegal duck races. Unfortunately, swimming is another skill that we don't have to get to fully max. We only have to get it to level 60 actually, which means we move on to our next phase of duck races. These duck races go pretty much just like the other ones. We absolutely slap around these beginner ducks, and once we get to the later races, there's a few ducks that try and put up a fight, but our duck is just elite, I guess. I mean, we did genetically modify him, so I'd hope he'd be good. Anyway, we win, we evolve, and we adapt, improvise, overcome. And after doing so, we make it all the way to Easter Island. What the hell? I don't know why we're here, but I know we're gonna train. And this is where the skills get a bit funky. I say funky because some of these skills dramatically change from what they were in the other games. With that being said, we start off with a relatively tame version, which is Flying pretty much just combines the first two versions of the skill and makes a frickin' love child with them. All that's just going to say that it gives you both caution signs and arrows, so if there's a caution sign, don't go there. If there's an arrow, you should probably go there. It's pretty simple and not confusing at all. And seeing as how easy this skill is to level and how fast the experience gain is, you can probably guess that it didn't take me very long to max this skill. It actually took me less than 2 minutes, just pretty quick. And with that easy task out of the way, we move on to our next skill. Running is another skill that is pretty tame in comparison to the other two, seeing as it's almost the same as the previous one, just zoomed out and the objects aren't moving. I am. I'm moving at such light speed that the objects don't even look like they're moving. I'm like a speedster at this point. I don't even know what's going on. I'm warping space and time. With that being said, I get through this training too with relative ease. We don't talk about all of these several mistakes. And oh my god, look over there! What is that? Oh, you just missed it, but while you weren't looking, I got level 150 in running, so that's cool. And now that we're done with running, you already know which one we're moving on to next.
I am under the water. Please help me.
Yeah, apparently I forgot climbing existed. I guess my brain wanted to just shut that part of the game out, so I didn't do it yet. That being said, I will have to do it later, but we're just gonna skip it for now. As you can probably see, the swimming skill is pretty different. Essentially now it's just a cross between Flappy Bird and Geometry Dash, which are two games that I'm pretty good at, so suffice it to say I quite like this new swimming skill. And I may not be very good at it, but man did I have a fun time doing it. Fortunately for me, being bad at this skill kinda sucks because swimming is my lowest level skill, which means it needs the most training. And oof, runs like those, they're just not gonna cut it. Eventually, I do get the hang of it and start getting pretty good runs, and we manage to start closing the gap on that max rank. And just like that, a few runs later, we're maxed out. And completely skipping climbing, we go straight into these next duck races, which all things considered went pretty well up until the second finals race. Yeah, these ducks are on something because they absolutely destroyed me. Looks like I gotta train climbing after all. You know how I was surprised how bad they made climbing last time? Well, prepare to be even more surprised because they somehow one-upped themselves and made it worse after making it worse. Not only was it previously luck-based, now there's literally no skill involved whatsoever because they added rising lava, which is super cool. Oh, you're trying to escape a volcano. Yeah, except the lava goes faster than you, so even if you don't move your duck, you're still gonna die. Like, if you don't get super unlucky and you're the best skillful player ever, you're still gonna die because the lava's faster than you and it'll catch up. And I'm just gonna have a nice little climbing montage for you all to enjoy, because I know I sure didn't. But finally, after countless agonizing minutes later, we finally get to climbing level 140. Yeah, I know 150's max, but I really couldn't be bothered getting to 150. I'm sure this won't be a problem later on in the speedrun. And with that, we're gonna head back to the race where the other ducks smoked me and give them a taste of their own medicine. Yeah, I'd say climbing level 140 is good enough. After getting my get back on those other ducks, it's time to do the third and last finals race, which we proceed to easily win, and that's where you'd think the game ends, right? Well, you'd be wrong, because after winning that race, an interdimensional portal opens, and inside of that portal, what, you may ask? An interdimensional duck being that wants to race me, the king duck. Well, he doesn't know what's coming. I've done my time. I've paid my dues. I got through countless minutes of agonizing climbing training, all for this, the pinnacle of Duck Life 3. What follows is the most 2010s-esque race that I have ever seen. I honestly wouldn't even be able to do it justice by voicing it over, so I'm going to give it to you raw and unedited, the final race. Here you go. Please enjoy. And with that, we just managed to squeak out our victory in a time of 36 minutes and 8 seconds. And looking at the leaderboard, that puts us right at 30th place in the world by beating out the other 30th place guy by 1 single second. Man, I'd hate to be that guy right now. But with that being said, thanks for watching. But a few deep runs later, a few long, deep, pause.